Welcome back to the Breakdown, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us during that break. BreakDRadio.com is the website to go to. You can check that out. Also, don't forget to check out my Sunday Long Live radio appearances that happen now at 9 Eastern time because they're an hour behind us until the end of March. We just pushed the clocks ahead, you know. I saw a meme years ago, and I thought it was really smart. I thought it was like really smart and stuff. I don't know if it's a legit quote. I'll have to look it up. But I did think it was kind of interesting. It was of a Native American, and a picture of a Native American. And it said, only a white man would cut a piece of cloth from the top of a blanket and sew it onto the bottom and say he has a longer blanket. That's a fake laugh, but it's a real laughter from inside my heart, deep down in there. That's where I feel the laughter is in my heart. We do this daylight savings time to get more time where we're more daylight. We should just leave it alone. Maybe God in his grade. This is me thinking, okay? This is just thinking way outside of the box here. Okay? Maybe God in his grand design made the seasons like they are so that we could regulate our sleep and get more sleep and rest that our bodies need throughout the year than most people get, or that we're, because when you look at it, our pineal gland is what judges that. It's what helps us determine our cycles, our circadian cycles, to make sure that we're getting enough sleep and to make sure that we are rested appropriately. If you're not rested, I could pull up, and I've saved a bunch of these stories. Just clean out my pockets here and get a bunch of these stories out of the way. But there's story after story I've seen about how proper sleep or improper sleep or lack of sleep affects people's mental health, and it affects their depression and things like that. Sorry, I'm looking this up right here. I'm just going to type in. I have a system here where I save all this stuff, so I'm just going to type in sleep in my search engine here of my saved articles for show prep. This is the Chum Bucket. Scientists finally understand the link between depression and bad sleep. It says here, let me pull this article up, I'll read it. And this is extremely important. Some brains can't help but decide that 3 o'clock in the morning is the right time to ruminate on everything that's going wrong. Read when you've got time to... It says approximately 75% of people diagnosed with depression say they suffer from terrible sleep. On the other side of the same coin, people who consistently suffer restless nights have a high risk of developing depression. But because of a study released in JAMA Psychiatry, a treatment for the 1-2 punch of depression and sleeplessness might be on the horizon. Sleep and depression go hand in hand. University of Warwick professor Jianfeng Feng, PhD, tells Inverse, we have worked on this area for many years, and bad sleep is a core symptom for depression. I would be depressed too if I couldn't sleep at night. I mean, honestly, if you don't have the proper rest that you need, the Bible is very clear on rest. When it talks about resting and the sleep that we get, I'm trying to think of the psalm that talks about that. But let me look it up here real quick. So the Bible talks about sleep, but when it uses that, people talk about sleep being able to rest at night because they're not worried, they're not stressed about things. So using and putting your trust in the Lord allows you to be able to rest at night, to lay your pillow on the bed and rest at night. I saw a thing over the past couple of weeks, a story about a farmer who was looking for a farmhand, and he asked a guy, he asked the guy he was interviewing, he was a good worker, he had a lot of knowledge about education. He's like, what is the one thing about you that you think's great? And he was like, I can sleep through a storm. And the farmer was like, I don't know what that means, but okay. Then the guy would work daily. Every night he would go to sleep. Every night he'd go to bed. He was an early riser, worked hard all day. At night, went to sleep, and slept a good night's rest. Well, one night a big storm come along, and the farmer got up and tried to wake the guy up, and the guy wouldn't wake up. He shook him and yelled his name. He wouldn't wake up. He's like, oh, this guy's useless. So he runs outside, and he goes to the barn, and he finds all the tools secured properly in the barn. Then he runs to the animals, and he finds all the animals are properly put in their pen. All of them are secured. And then he goes to the house and finds the windows are already secured and protected from the storm as well. And then he realizes what the man was saying. He can sleep through a storm because he's already prepared before the storm comes along, and he has no concerns that if a storm rolled through in the middle of the night, he would be fine. That's how he was able to sleep so well. And that's what the scriptures tell us, as far as sleep is concerned. But there are some issues which prevent people from being able to have a decent or good night's rest. And when you go to a biblical counselor, one of the things that a lot of biblical counselors will do, if you tell them, hey, I'm depressed, I'm having a lot of anxiety issues, I'm bothered, first thing they'll ask you is like, what's your sleep cycle like? What's your rest like? Have you been sleeping a full 8 hours every night? And like, oh no, I've only been sleeping 3. I've only been doing this. Well, go home for the next 2 weeks, go to bed at this particular time, try to do something to get that 8 hours of sleep every night. And then when you come back, we'll talk about your depression. And the majority of cases that go home and get rest will dispel their depression. So this idea that JAMA is putting out is something we've known for a very long time. The Thing, which is a co-author of the 2018 study, says that it's historically been difficult to pin down what drives the relationship between sleep and depression. But his team is the first to identify a neural link between the two states. They found that there's functional connectivity between the areas of the brain associated with short-term memory, self, and negative emotions. This functional connectivity, a term describing separate parts of the brain, are connected by the patterns of active neurons, explains why some brains can't help but decide that 3 o'clock in the morning is the right time to ruminate on everything that's going wrong. He says an important part of the research was that they showed that in a population from the U.S. available because of the Human Connectome Project, the orbitofrontal cortex had increased functional connectivity with the other brain regions in people with depressive problems. So the question is, does depression cause restless sleep, or does restless sleep or lack of no sleep cause depression? That would be the question to find out as well. What's the difference between the two? You trace it back to find people. The people who are depressed typically like to sleep. Though a lot of people I know that had suffered in the past from what science or psychology calls depression would actually want to go to sleep and get some rest so that they could escape all the problems. It's like sleep became an escape, like alcohol or drugs to people became an escape. So to say that the sleep causes the depression, I'm wondering if the depression causes the sleep. I'm wondering if a person who is depressed and gets some biblical counseling, begins to work through their issues in a biblical way and given hope, which is what so many people need right now. If people are given hope that their issues they're facing, if it's a divorce or a wayward child, or struggles at work, or struggles with their sexuality, or struggles with their with a marriage, if it struggles with a job or struggles with the Lord, whatever those may be, even if it's the COVID crisis that's been going on the past 2 years, any of those things, if there is a link between the restlessness of sleep caused by the fact that they're not resting in the Lord. If you rest in the Lord, you'll be able to appropriately rest in the world. Matthew 11:28-30 says, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And perhaps if we spend a good amount of time talking to someone about taking their problems and putting them on Jesus Christ, as he has done that, maybe that's the way that we can be anxious about nothing, but in every prayer, but in every situation, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make our requests known to the Lord. Is that the answer to these concerns? Is that the answer to the problem? Very possibly, because the world is not going to tell you to trust in the Lord when it comes to your finances. They're not going to tell you that God says anxiety is a sin. They're not going to tell you that we're not supposed to worry about tomorrow or the evil that's in tomorrow, but we're supposed to rest in what Christ has done for us today. They won't tell you those things, right? But if we did spend time teaching someone how to get rid of their depression, or how to work through those emotions, or to label it biblically, like the DSM-5 is calling depression any bout of sadness that lasts longer than 2 weeks. So if you have the death of a spouse or a loved one that lasts longer than 2 weeks, you're depressed. The Bible says we can reach depths of despair. The Bible doesn't say there's a cure for depression, but the Bible does say that there is a cure for despair. And that is the gospel of Jesus Christ, that regardless of what you suffer, regardless of what you go through, our lives are in the palm of Christ's hands, and he is watching out for us and looking out for us. Our greatest problem of sin has been solved. It's placed on Jesus, and now in our lives, if we rest in Christ, we will have real rest.
I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me mojo or give me death. Mojo 50.
Let's face it, trying to build your own website can be a frustrating task, but you can't have a company, church, nonprofit, or business without a web presence. That's where SiteFX comes in. SiteFX provides complete website creation from a simple blog style to template-based sites. SiteFX can even give you absolute customization services, bringing your vision to digital life. Even if you already have a website, there's always room for growth. SiteFX has 15 years of experience staying in tune with the current web trends, add-ons, designs, and coding updates. SiteFX even offers comprehensive social media management to assist with your difficult schedule. Don't spend another valuable minute worrying about your web presence. Let SiteFX help you take your business to the next level. Visit them on the web at sitefx.org. That's SITEFX.org. Or call 859-905-0016. That's 859-905-0016. 859-905-0016. SiteFX, your life with an electronic edge.
You know, I didn't plan this particular segment on sleep, that first segment to lead into this one, but I did plan this article right here, which I thought was pretty fascinating from, where is it from? The article is The Guardian, as a matter of fact. Here, I even got a nice color print of that, too, for the people who are watching on camera. It is, can lucid dreaming help us understand consciousness? Can lucid dreaming help us? I love that picture right there, too. It's beautiful, just like a really cool face, and then it's surrounded by these kind of colored puffy clouds and some other cosmic things going on. I thought the cool thing about this one is this particular article talks about lucid dreaming. Now, I've always wanted to be able to control my dreams, and I've never really looked into how to do that. But I know a lot of people, they have these really exciting, really lucid type dreams. I shouldn't say I know a lot of people. I don't think I know any lucid dreamers. I know some dreamers. As a matter of fact, my daughter, when she was younger, she had a couple of dreams that came to pass, which I thought was fascinating. So the whole idea of dreaming to me is fascinating. And I know that I grew up Pentecostal, and I know that in the past few years I've kind of vacillated, kind of gone back and forth on whether or not God speaks to people audibly. I don't think he speaks to people audibly per se, but I do believe that God, it's very possible, let me say that, it's very possible that God, since he's sovereign, can drop little nuggets of things in people's dreams. You know, he may not be speaking to you directly, but maybe perhaps he's warning somebody of an impending issue. And if we look at Joel chapter 2, your young men shall see visions, your old men shall dream dreams. That is in the Bible. So it's part of that whole end times or last days structure of the building of the church. Now, I think that it's also been abused over the years, and people are running about saying that God has told them this and told them that about you, and that you need to do this and listen to God because that's what God's talking about. But Peter says here in Acts chapter 2, these are not drunken as you suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day, but this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. That's part of the scriptures. You can't deny it's there. So when we talk about dreaming, the possibility exists that there could be some kind of communication. there could be some kind of an idea of something that's happening. If you go to the website, breakdradio.com, and search for dream, or just put in dream interpretation, there's an episode from Freaky Friday of June of last year, and dream interpretation with John E. Thomas. And the first hour of the program, we talk about dreams. We talk about the possibility of what I just mentioned, God putting things in there. And of course, John Thomas he believes that. He works for the Dreams Institute, or Streams Ministries, and they are very heavily involved in dreams and dream interpretation. And the second hour of the show, I talked to him about some dreams. Some people, I had listeners submit dreams to me, and then I read those to him, and then he tried to he gave an interpretation of those dreams as well. Those are all part of this. So I thought was pretty amazing, and I was glad that we were able to do that with him. But anyway, I digress. Back to this. Can lucid dreaming help us understand consciousness? Scientists are looking into this now and talking about how your ability to control or have lucid dreams could be a pointing to how our consciousness activates and how our consciousness works. The opening part here talks about a young woman who is plagued in her dreams by tidal waves. But what she thinks is a terrifying nightmare can turn into a whimsical adventure because she controls her dreams and can transform herself into a dolphin and swim into the wave. Once she transformed the wave itself, turning it into a giant snail with a huge snail. She says, it came right up to me. It was a really beautiful moment. And now there are people online who will tell you how to deepen your ability to have lucid dreams. There's a subreddit devoted to it, over 400,000 people. I myself would love to do this just for entertainment purposes. I've awakened before from sleep and tried to get back into my dream. And then I've kind of been in this kind of awake, kind of asleep, kind of lucid state where I'm still trying to struggle. Am I awake? Am I asleep? But I know in the back of my mind I'm awake. I'm in control of what's happening right now. But what I don't want to happen is I don't want to be awake and just imagining or daydreaming something that's happening. I want to be able enough to control what happens in my dream, but still be a participant as my mind subconsciously uses the imagination or all of the events or all of the senses or the smells or the events, everything that just takes place in our everyday lives, and then puts that in my dream. I don't want to just have a daydream. If I have a daydream, I could sit with a cup of coffee and a Snickers and enjoy a nice cigar or a glass of bourbon and have a daydream. I don't want to daydream. I want to rest, but have an adventure. I want to ride on Valcor and fly across the universe. I want to get on a spaceship and go Mach 12 with Captain Kirk. I want to meet new lives and new civilizations. I want to be a pirate battling a giant octopus. Something like that, right? I don't want to just imagine it. I want to control it, control the theme, but then just let my mind take off. I didn't really realize how much I wanted to control my dreams or have lucid dreaming until I started doing this segment. I wasn't even as passionate about this when I was writing my notes for this segment, but still, but all of that all together, and maybe it's just your desire to control something, right? I love nightmares, and my family always makes fun of me because sometimes I just feel like I've never done this, but I would love to just drink some NyQuil. I just want to drink some NyQuil and go to sleep. I need to re-listen to my first segment about depression. Maybe I've got the opening symptoms of that. But there have been times we make jokes. I'm like, I just want to take a swig of NyQuil just so I can have an insane dream. My kids don't like taking NyQuil because of the dreams it gives them. I want those dreams. But maybe it's just the ability to be in control. I love nightmares. Maybe I love more waking up from the nightmare, right? Maybe I love more being able to pull myself out of that and not be trapped. But I have control over where that nightmare is going. Perhaps that's the same for you. I don't know. But for me, I enjoy the adventure of the nightmare. Maybe it's a subconscious desire to be able to control something. Regardless, But here we go. Continuing in the article, it says that many are looking for entertainment. It's just so exciting and unbelievable to be in a lucid dream and to witness your mind creating this completely vivid simulation, says Michelle Carr, the tidal wave dolphin and snail lover in her dreams, who is a sleep researcher at the University of Rochester, New York State. Others hope that exercising skills in their dreams will increase their real-life abilities. Now, she says here, and this is fascinating, athletes use lucid dreams to practice their sport. So if you can control your dream state, if you can control this lucid dream, think about the possibilities. Think about your ability to practice, to think about strategies, to deepen your understanding of a topic, to deep-rootedly work through circumstances in your life, or maybe research and development. Think about that. Imagine if you could harness that ability and then direct them. You could have experiments. You could run through scenarios. You can do job interviews. I mean, I'm getting a little bit silly on it like that. You don't want to constantly be working like that. But if you could do that, something like what Nikola Tesla did, he was able to work through experiments. And he was able to just test and run through experiments in his mind. He didn't have to actually go into a laboratory. He was that much of a genius. Now, some say that it was because he was visited by aliens, but regardless, if you could do that with your mind while you rested, but you're still working through those complex situations in life, how fascinating would that be? To be able to wake up rested, rejuvenated, but yet with more insight, more intelligence, better versed, more wisdom, able to perform better at your craft or your job because you were running through those scenarios. I would love to learn more about that, about the athletes that are using them. But the more profound reasons, she says, to exploit the deep sleep state, besides personal improvement, by identifying the brain activity that gives rise to the heightened awareness and sense of agency in lucid dreams, neuroscientists and psychologists hope to answer the fundamental questions about the nature of human consciousness, including our apparently unique capacity for self-awareness. More and more researchers from many different fields have started to incorporate lucid dreams in their research. This interest in lucid dreams has been growing in fits and starts for more than a century. Despite his fascination with the interaction between the conscious and subconscious mind, Sigmund Freud barely mentioned lucid dreams in his writings. Instead, it was Mary Arnold Forster who mentioned this, and based on her experiences, she said that humans have a dual consciousness. A dual consciousness. I think now that's going to be something we're going to have to dig into on the other side of the break. Hold on just a minute. Hold on. Just a second. Here we go. Okay. All right. While we're talking about sleep, I want to get into the rest of this article on the other side of the break. But while we're talking about sleep, every great day begins with a great night's rest, and every great night's rest begins with a great pillow. That's why my family and I use exclusively MyPillow products. As you know, Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best night's rest of their life, and he didn't stop simply by making the best pillow. Mike also created the Giza Dream bed sheets, which they look and feel fantastic. I know this because I have them. It's super soft, very sheens, keeps you cool through the night. It's called Giza. It's an ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. The Giza sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. And I'm telling you, the first time you crack these out of the package and put them on your bed, you're not going to want to go back. You're going to get as many sets as you can, so you can never go without having them on your bed. The Dream Sheets come in a variety of sizes and colors, and Mike is offering some incredible deals and having sales constantly. And you can get a fantastic discounted sale if you go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Barker. That's MyPillow.com. Use the promo code BARKER. You can also call 800-892-6955. That's 800-892-6955. Tell them you want to use the promo code Barker. Again, 800-892-6955, or go to MyPillow.com. And the promo code Barker. Your best night's sleep is just a few moments away. All right, folks, we're going to continue with this and more, so keep it locked in right here on The Breakdown.
Fighting for your right to be wrong. Mojo 50.
Mojo50solar.com.
That's the website to find out how much you could save by adding a solar package to your home or business. Go to mojo50solar.com. They'll connect you with the Patriots over at Patriot Energy, and they can do a custom package. They can take all of the factors involved in your unique case, where you are, how many hours of sunlight you get on average, the amount of electricity that you use. They can magically whip it up in their little solar blender, and they will come out with a figure that you can decide, hey, I like this. This makes sense to me. I could save some money on my electric bill every month. And the great news is that in a lot of cases, you'll even end up getting money back from your electricity provider. The only way you'll know is to go to mojo50solar.com. Don't wait. Do it today. mojo50solar.com.
Let's be honest, wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Lucid dreaming, controlling your sleep, the ability to be able to conduct experiments and move through the world even when you're resting. Just fantastic. You know what? I wonder about this. I wonder if this has anything to do with like astral projection. Astral projection is the ability to push your spirit out and go different places and fly through the universe and go to different locations. I know people who do this. There's also been astral projection, which has been used in remote viewing and supposed time travel as well. A lot of that kind of spiritual stuff where you're able to control the directions of your spirit. Now, the Bible says that the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets, so it's very possible that that is also in there. I just love the possibilities in the conversation that comes from something like that. But before we went to the break, we were talking about lucid dreaming and its ability to potentially help scientists understand the consciousness of people and understand where consciousness comes from. And in the article, they talked about Mary Arnold Forster, who wrote a book on this in the turn of the century in the earliest and most detailed descriptions in the English language called Studies in Dreams. Now, she proposed that humans have a dual consciousness. One of these, the primary self, I call it the waking self, but the primary self allows us to analyze our circumstances and apply logic to what we're experiencing. That's just being alive, right? That's just functioning in the world and functioning in the daily, to be able to use logic to put stuff together, to think about things and to work through time and circumstances that we have. But it's typically inactive during sleep, leaving us with a dream consciousness that cannot reflect on its own state. In lucid dreams, the primary self, quotey fingers, wakes up. So the primary self is a participant in the dream. You're not necessarily awake, but you're in the dream. You know that you're dreaming. And that is the point at which they say you can begin to conduct like a symphonic conductor. You're standing before a symphony and controlling the orchestra of your dreams. It says here that when that primary self wakes up, in your dreams, you bring with it your memories, your knowledge of facts, and the trains of reasoning, as well as the awareness that you're asleep. Now, neuroscientists and psychologists use the term, they kind of balk at this term, dual consciousness. But they do agree that lucid dreams involve an increased self-awareness, a reflection, a greater sense of agency and volition, and the ability to think about more distant past and future. That's substantially different setup than what we are normally told about dreams being controlled by the pizza we had the night before, or indigestion, or being controlled by circumstances or random thoughts and processes of our chemicals in our brains just firing at once, or your brain processing all of the data it takes in that we're not even aware of while we're awake. But it says here that that if you scan the brains, if we think about human consciousness, it says, which can come back to that shift from a non-lucid dream to a lucid dream. There's something to be learned about that when you look at the contrast. Now, you're thinking about this, when you scan those brains, those minds of those people who are sleeping or during lucid dreams, and you see those parts of the brains that are involved in memory and volition and logic and reasoning, you wonder, why can't you just do that with a person who is awake? Why can't you just follow the neural processes and research what a person's brain and their sophisticated mental state is while they're awake? Waking consciousness involves all kinds of other phenomena. So you're out there, you're living in the world, you have all kinds of different sensory inputs, and you have a hard time, if you're scanning those brains, to separate what is the phenomena that is stimulating your mind while you're awake versus the phenomena that is stimulating your mind while you're asleep. So as they research and as they study this, it's hard to separate the different elements of experience when you're asleep and when you're awake as you're minding them. But when you go and review a lucid dreamer's mind, nothing apart from the person's conscious state. Results show that you isolate specific regions involved in the heightened sense of self-awareness. I want to quite a bit in this article that I wanted to cover. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover it all on this, but the whole part of this is your anterior prefrontal cortex. Is where they showed this heightened sense of activity during lucid dreaming, and they're together known as the front parietal network. These areas are markedly less active during normal REM sleep, but they become much busier whenever the participant entered a lucid dream. They're showing that they're involved in the heightened reflection and self-awareness. Certain doctors have also examined the overall brain connectivity of people who experience more than 3 lucid dreams a week and found evidence of greater communication between regions of the front parietal network. That made it easier for them to gain this heightened sense of self-awareness. Now, the reason that this can help us understand consciousness, because we can get into the esoteric understanding of dreams and the nature of it and controlling the consciousness, etc. But the reason this really helps is because if you look at galantamine, which is a treatment that people take, the alkaloid galantamine can be used to induce lucid dreams. If you do that before you go into a lucid dream state, 14% of those taking a placebo managed to gain awareness in their dream state. 27% taking a 4 milligram dose of galantamine entered a lucid dream state, and 42% taking an 8 milligram dose entered into a lucid dream state. Now, what does that mean? That means that this medication can assist in waking up the front parietal network while you're sleeping and help you be a participant in your dream. This helps us because galantamine has been approved by NICE to treat moderate Alzheimer's disease. It helps to boost concentrations of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine at our brain's cells' synapses. This can raise the signaling in the front parietal regions from a low baseline and may have helped dreaming participants, but it also can potentially help people when they are unresponsive after brain injuries. If we can examine the way that people respond in lucid dreams and what parts of their brains wake up, we can have hope, because when we look at those people who have traumatic brain injuries, that can also be a determining factor to see what parts of their brain are waking up and what parts of their brain have consciousness or control when they are in there. When people are unresponsive after brain injuries, it's very difficult to establish their level of consciousness. If lucid dreams help scientists to establish a neurosignature of self-awareness, it can help doctors to make more accurate diagnoses and prognosis for those patients and determine how they might be experiencing the effects of their illness. This is amazing stuff here. And you think about the mind of a person, the way that it's constantly being discovered, how we're constantly learning more about the consciousness of a person. You know, we have stories that are asking us if it's possible for AI to have consciousness. Do you think AI could possess this type of control, to have their neuro senses to pick up so many different stimuli during the day and account for so much phenomena that they're joining their prefrontal cortex and different places of their mind together. What gives that spark in a person? What is the consciousness of a person? Consciousness is a sense of being. It's a knowledge of self. It is self-awareness. Being awake, knowing where you are, knowing who you are, knowing that you're a person, knowing that you have purpose, knowing that you have value. All of those come from your consciousness, but it's not just the value of that. So walk it back even further. The ability to even reason that I exist, the ability to think beyond ourselves. The fact that our mind is working when we don't even realize it. The fact that the colors that surround us, our vision is able to take in and process in quantum type moments to take what we see, view it upside down and flip it upright and process the thousands of colors, the thousands of scents that we take in, the thousands, the untold amounts of sounds we take in all the time. And for our minds to be able to process that, there's more to consciousness than just self-awareness. There's more to consciousness than just processing logic and processing stimuli and processing phenomena. Is it possible to have a quantum brain in an AI that can process that amount of information at that speed that a human brain does? I mean, I know that there is some fascinating quantum computing that happens, but we're thinking about this. There's more to it than just processing stimuli and processing information. The ability to think and reason, the ability to know that we are thinking and reasoning, the ability to understand that there is a higher purpose, a higher value of us, to be able to recognize that in others, the ability to realize that life is valuable and that each of us have a purpose, each of us have a goal, each of us have a desire. Those things, folks, I find it very difficult for us to think that machines can develop it on their own, or even that humans can put it in machines. We can't even get a vaccine right, and we complain about ads on doors of freezers at grocery stores.
Don't tread on my mojo. Mojo 50.
At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logo designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at romikadesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@romikadesigns.com, or visit us on the web at romikadesigns.com.
So if you don't believe in Bigfoot, why? Why don't you? He's out there. Bigfoot believes in you. He does. And he loves you. He's concerned about you. He's concerned about your safety. Aren't you, big guy? You are. I know you are. Bigfoot loves you. Why don't you love Bigfoot? He's mean. He's a big hairy monster. I'm not talking about me. Interesting story. Bigfoot helps a lost girl find a way back to her family. A young woman recounts her telling of how Bigfoot helped her out. She starts the story out by saying that she and her family went to stay at a resort. It was like a cabin. It was in South Dakota to see Mount Rushmore. They ended up staying in a cabin. As they were going to it, when they got there to check in, there was a little bit of hesitancy from the front desk to put them in this cabin, but she remembers going up and finding large footprints going to and from the cabin. Her dad, who had a size 12 foot, put him up next to them, and they were at least 4 inches bigger than his. He noted how strange it was and then went inside. She says over the next few days, some strange things happened, like once they came back from an outing and all the cereal boxes they had bought were on the front lawn. Another strange thing was when we came back from the pool, all of our shoes were in the bathtub and the water running over them. Both of these times, there were no signs of a break-in. I had been having strange dreams while I was there. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was in there. She was having strange dreams. We were just talking about lucid dreaming. Look at that synchronicity. I love it. I had never had any dreams like this before, so I don't believe that's what they were, and they were the same each time. I would wake up feeling watched. And in the window facing the woods, I would see a huge dark figure in the windows watching me. It would never leave when I saw it. It just seemed to be more interested in me. See? The big guy loves you. I went out on my own to explore, as I had done several times before this, and found some sprinklers set up on a hillside. I was running and playing in them for quite some time. Unbeknownst to me at the time, they were septic sprinklers. And when I heard a loud crack from the woods on the other side of this hill I was playing on, it piqued my interest, since it sounded as if a tree fell, but I didn't see any disturbance from what pointed to one falling. I walked in, and there was for quite a while, and heard some very strange things. There were things that I could only equate to heavy footfall, but never saw anything that would cause them. I had been wandering around for a long time trying to find my way back out and getting more and more frightened as I went. I saw trees rattle and shake like something was jumping from tree to tree, following me through the woods. I started to lose hope that I would never find my way out. I sat down on a rock and started to cry when I heard the same heavy footfall approach me and stop several feet beside me. I looked up and stared in the direction they came from before I saw it. It had to have been only 10 feet away from me, staring directly into my eyes. I say that it is a he because I saw proof that it was a male, was at least 8 feet tall, and was very still and well camouflaged. He was like a black, dark green color, fully covered in hair. We had several minutes of uninterrupted eye contact until he looked up at the direction that would have me slightly to his left. I wiped my eyes and audibly asked, "What does that mean?" So I'm assuming he kind of like moved his chin and moved up. "What does that mean? What are you telling me?" He looked down at me again and raised his arm to point in that same direction. I looked where he pointed and asked out loud if that's where home was. But when I looked back to where he was standing, he was gone. I walked that way, and I found my cabin right before it got dark. My parents were distraught, of course, but happy to see me. I told them what happened, and to this day, I don't think they believed me. I buried this for a long time until I started listening to others' stories. It brought it all back with such veracity I had to share. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and I appreciate at any point input as to what this creature may have been. I think this was Bigfoot. I think the big guy saw this young child distraught. Are we linked to Bigfoot? Are they humans as well? Are they distant ancestors? Are they just simply having the parental protection over someone, over a younger person that they see that could be distraught and crying and they want to help? That's a big question. You know, I think that there could be a lot of different kinds of Bigfoot out there. People will say, "Oh, well, Bigfoot are really nice," and then they rip your face off. Or Bigfoot are horrible, they rip my face off, but then they lead a little girl home. There could be, what if they're just as diverse as human beings? You have your Charlie Mansons, and then you have your Billy Grahams. You have your horrible, terrible Bigfoots, and you have your really nice, loving Bigfoots. Maybe they're just different types. Maybe they just have different personalities, different makeups. If, as they are, as people say, they're humanoids of some type, why would we not think that they would be different or have different personalities? Interesting information there. And interesting stories like this. If you have stories like this and you want to share those with us, we do. I also do the breakdown, Freaky Friday edition over at Odyssey Radio. You can go check out the recent one we did this past Friday. By the way, was 3 hours long. 2 hours were broadcast on air. Then there was one bonus hour that was played. This, ladies and gentlemen, was a fantastic and fun interview I did with Marshall Masters about starting cannabis survival churches. If you go to the website, breakdradio.com, you can actually find a free ebook. And in this free ebook, it gives the detailed description and presentation that he also gave, which was it's just fantastic. And it was so great, so much information, so dense with info, but helpful info. It wasn't just like a barrage of information. Marshall has a really good, warm, and passionate way of delivering this to people. You know, you come across guests sometimes, and there are a couple, I'm just going to have to say it about Marshall. A couple others I won't say this about yet, but Marshall, I tell you, he's just one of those radio hosts' dreams. You know, just great interview, really passionate, very fun, charismatic, and he was able to display that. So strongly encourage you to go over there, and I'm currently getting the videos of that up as well. So stay tuned for those. But you can go over there, check out the Freaky Friday shows on Odyssey Radio, ODYSY radio.com, and you'll be able to hear the shows, not only my show, but Abnormal Realities with Ron and Rocky. Tim Dennis is going to be over there, which I'm stoked about because I've listened to Darkness Radio for a long time. He and Dave Schrader, I've listened to them over on Darkness Radio. I love Darkness Radio. I love the beginning of Darkness Radio. Sometimes I just crave that their intro to that. You've got Alana Fitzgerald, Because I Can, Intrepid Radio with Scotty Roberts, just fantastic stuff. And also Sarah Soderland, the Paranormal Sarah, is on over there too. So you want to check that out, ODYSYradio.com, and listen to those fantastic shows and programs. Now, of course, these stories lead you into this. There was another story here. Are there any giant animals humans haven't discovered yet? Well, isn't that kind of a silly question? Hey, so what haven't I found out yet? Well, if you haven't found it out yet, how do you know you haven't? Anyway, in 2020, researchers saw for the first time what may be the longest animal ever. The creature, spotted in a deep sea canyon off Australia, was roughly 150 feet long. Was a roughly 150-foot long siphonophore. Each member of this group of species is made up of lots of smaller animals called zooids, which connect to form a long, string-like colony similar to a coral, but that swims freely in the ocean. Given it took so long for humans to set eyes on this ginormous siphonophore, it raises the question, are there more giant animals humans haven't discovered yet? The answer is almost certainly yes. Scientists are still learning about life on Earth, and the siphonophore is one of the several giants that humans have found in recent decades. Siphonophores live between about 2,300 and 3,280 feet below the surface, according to Monterey Bay Aquarium in California, but scientists don't always have to go to such depths to find the colossal creatures. In 2011, a previously unknown whale species washed up on a New Zealand beach. Scientists identified the giant in 2021 as a new member of the beaked whale family, a relatively unknown group of deep-sea diving whales that are rarely seen alive, according to the Whale Dolphin Conservation. Now think about how immense our oceans are. Think about how huge our Earth is. And then people want to talk about discovering things or finding things. There are millions, perhaps billions of species of different life, different organisms, different animals that we haven't discovered yet or don't even know anything about because the world is so vast and so massive. You know, we talk about, people are so definite. They're like, there's no such thing as aliens. There's no such thing as life on other planets. We're still discovering these massive creatures here on Earth. And you want to tell me that you know in the infinitely massive area of space? Scientists recently discovered a super galaxy, Alcyoneus, which is 16.3 million light years long. Remember, light years are an indication of distance, not time. 1 million light years long. And we don't even know what's in that thing. Our puny monster galaxy, the Milky Way, would be like nothing compared to this. And you're going to tell me that we know that nothing else exists there when we're still discovering creatures. We can't even see creatures that are 3,200 feet below the surface of the water. Come on. Don't tell me that that's crazy. Don't tell me you still believe that. There could be life out there. It's very possible. Come on, work. Drop. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, the last segment of the show where we plumb the depths of the internet to find those stories that make you go, what the foxtrot is going on here? Our next one here, multiple sightings of a small person in a metallic-looking suit. A woman driving southbound on I-75 encountered a small person in a metallic-looking suit while traveling south. The car's engine quit as well as other systems in the auto. After guiding the vehicle to the side of the road, she had a strange feeling and slowly looked to her left. Standing there was a small man. If the window was down, I could have touched it, said the witness. The man was described as a 4-foot-tall metal man who appeared to be wearing a metallic pewter-like outfit capped with a bubble or dome. That's pretty freaky. So be careful with that. Here's another one that's just absolutely kind of what the foxtrot's going on with that. Here's another one, the what the foxtrot moment here. Let's see if we can get this. I don't think we can. Just a moment. A woman is running a sexy summer camp for children in Kentucky. She says she thinks it's good for toddlers to masturbate. That's right. That's what I said here. I'm going to pull this up because this woman just makes you go, what the foxtrot is she thinking here? It's a perverted person. My system is loading that. Her name escapes me right now. Here we go. Let's listen to what she has to say, and I'll also throw this up for those who are watching this as well. Let me get the audio playing. The audio will play momentarily. Here we go.
That's how we should, get down with yourself, explore your own body. Masturbation is really healthy, and I recommend it to people of all ages. All ages. As soon as my nephews could talk, they were doing that. That's what they were doing. Kids touch themselves. Kids start to ask questions, and we teach them the language for their bodies, right? That's your nose, touch your nose, show Aunt T, you can touch your nose. But my sister's not saying that when they're tugging at their penis, right?
Oh, gosh.
But
what?
It feels good, right?
You
have to learn ways to talk to
foxtrot?
young people about this so that they know how to explore their body consensually so that it's not in public, right?
Explore their body
We don't want people
consensually.
exploring their bodies in public. That's not consensual. But exploring your body at any age, grandmas, grandpas, all of us need to be exploring our body. That's how we should.
What the foxtrot is she talking about? Exploring your body consensually. Now, she must mean exploring your body consensually with other people around. I don't understand what she means. I mean, I can touch my body, and if I touch my own body, that's consensual with myself, I think. There was a story I didn't get a chance to cover here, but this is out of Florida, the Don't Say Gay law that they're trying to pass. Understanding Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, where they're trying to prevent people or teachers from teaching kids about sexuality from like 1st to 3rd grade and leaving that up to the parents to do that because children shouldn't be learning that from schools. I totally agree with that. And I don't understand why now it's okay for this woman, if a guy were to do this, if a guy were to stand up there and say, let's talk to our little kids about touching their peen and let's talk about them masturbating and little girls masturbating. Let's do this. Could you imagine if a guy was out there saying this? He would be rightly run out on a pike. And now we're letting a woman talk about this because she has a disengaging, unalarming Southern accent, and she's talking about their penis, and she's talking about their vagina, and she's talking about rubbing and masturbating. It's perfectly fine. Why is it that this is considered okay? What the foxtrot is wrong with people where we encourage little kids to masturbate in class at school? I don't understand this. We hear about this Don't Say Gay bill, and it's supposed to, be some type of, it's supposed to endanger, or not, I'm sorry, not supposed to, but it's said to endanger kids who may not be able to come out at school or may not be able to come out at home because their parents aren't very open to the idea of them being gay. So this is the kind of stuff that you want to be taught to our kids about sexuality, about gender, about transgender, about age-appropriate things. All we're asking for is for parents to have control over what their kids are taught and not some woman to talk about masturbating with your child.
Get down with yourself, explore your own body.
Get down with
Masturbation
yourself.
is really healthy, and I recommend it to people of all ages. All ages. As soon as my nephews could talk, they were doing that. That's what they were doing. Kids touch themselves. Kids start to ask questions, and we teach them the language for their bodies, right?
Oh my goodness gracious, folks. What the foxtrot's going on with the world? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Go to breakdradio.com for all the updates. Follow me on all the socials at BreakDRadio. Don't forget the daily breakdowns over at TikTok as well. Until next time, folks, make Christ supremely valuable.